is Bitcoin going to follow a price cycle next year, which would be a downturn? And is Bitcoin going to diverge from the equity markets next year? And I think that there's a chance that both take place, and that's why we'll be talking less about a cycle because, as you know, Bitcoin also historically followed equity markets pretty closely too.
Tom Lee says crypto is already UBI, dives into ETH's 2024 shift. Stick around and watch what really changed.
Bitcoin was going to be viewed as digital gold. So a really simple argument, we could explain that 97% of the price of Bitcoin came from just wallets and activity, but really the idea of how Wall Street would adopt is digital gold. And that was 2017. It feels like that's 3 or 4 generations ago because, in that ensuing 8-year period, crypto was met with a lot of skepticism by institutional investors until recently. And as you know, the regulatory environment, especially U.S. policymakers, was hostile to Bitcoin and crypto until this year. So I would say, even though it's been 8 to 9 years, it feels like 3 decades ago. In fact, when I was at J.P. Morgan, there were many conversations about Bitcoin when I was the chief strategist, and we had our macro calls. Which
I remember that.
Yeah, and our FX strategist at the time said that Bitcoin could become recognized as a digital currency someday, but the problem is that it's principally used by drug dealers and the dark web. So it was really deemed as a experiment, but only used for nefarious ways. Although people forget that pirates basically innovated gold. So I think it would have been impossible to actually have a view on Bitcoin and a firm like J.P. Morgan allow someone to actually publish the white paper we did publish in 2014. I know we also faced commercial setbacks when we wrote that first white paper on Bitcoin, and Bitcoin was under 1,000, but we said by 2022, so 5 years forward, the range of fair value was 22,000 to 66,000 for Bitcoin. But we said that, if you triangulated, it would be roughly 25,000. We had clients actually cancel service on us. So we had some hedge funds famously tell us that they knew that we were so desperate that we lost all of our credibility because now we were talking about internet money as if it was a legitimate asset class. So it actually hurt us. And it probably didn't become a benefit for us as a company because we committed resources to it continuously since then until maybe 2021.
Bitcoin dropped below $108,000 on Friday, shaking confidence across the crypto market. Traders are now asking if 100,000 could be BTC's next stop. The sharp drop shows bulls losing grip, and analysts warn that a fall under $108,666 may accelerate the decline. Veteran trader Peter Brandt said BTC needs to reclaim $117,570 to avoid confirming a dangerous double top pattern. Yet some optimism remains, with network economist Timothy Peterson noting that historically, Bitcoin tends to perform strongly in the last 4 months before Christmas. ETH is holding up better than Bitcoin, but now without pressure. It recently slipped under its 20-day EMA and could test $4,094. Buyers are expected to defend this area, but if it breaks, ETH might slide toward $3,354. Meanwhile, inflows into ETH ETFs have outpaced BTC ETFs by billions in recent weeks, showing investors are shifting exposure toward Ethereum. Altcoins are also feeling the pressure. XRP risks breaking below 27 cents, which could drag it closer to 22 cents, while BNB is battling to stay above $861. Solana slipped under $210, raising fears of a pullback to its trend line, and Dogecoin struggles to hold 21 cents. Cardano faces critical support near 82 cents, Chainlink risks dipping to $20, and newcomers like Hape and Sui are testing key ranges. With so much volatility, this weekend could be decisive for the entire market's direction.
Well, I think when people talk about a crypto cycle and it being 4 years, there's probably some reflexivity at work because the original genesis was that, Bitcoin had a halving cycle. And so people were talking about a price cycle that really followed a Bitcoin in a halving. Um, but, uh, and in crypto, as you know, because there isn't a company, it's decentralized and there's no centralized source of information. Price itself often becomes really important, especially in the early days. So I think that there was a lot to people looking at patterns and then markets trading on those patterns. And the reality is that it's still true in the equity world because I can't tell you how many of our institutional clients still look at seasonality, which is just applying a calendar to what price action could be, either whether it's credit or volatility or equity. So every element of liquid markets today. I think that there is probably some credence because many people are positing that the 4-year cycle may not be in place anymore. Everybody from Bitwise, to David Bailey, so a lot of OGs. And that has to do with the fact that the incremental buyer of Bitcoin is no longer retail, which is really the story from inception up until probably 2024. And so now in the last 2 years, there's now institutional allocations taking place into crypto. And because of that, it's probably countercyclical.
Ethereum may be trading under $5,000 after a sharp 12% pullback, but signs are pointing toward the bull market still being alive. After reaching fresh highs above $4,950, ETH has slipped to the $4,300 range, leaving many wondering if the rally is over. Yet new data suggests otherwise, with multiple factors signaling that Ether has more room to climb in 2025. Institutional demand is one of the clearest bullish indicators. Spot Ethereum ETFs have seen record-breaking inflow since their launch, including a single-day haul of more than $1 billion in August. Cumulative inflows now exceed $13 billion, outpacing BTC ETFs by a wide margin and reflecting a strong rotation of capital into Ethereum. Corporates are also adding ETH to their treasuries, with BitMine holding nearly $8 billion worth of Ether. On-chain activity tells an equally powerful story. Transactions, active addresses, and decentralized exchange volumes are all hitting new highs, with Ethereum DeFi still dominating market share. Against Bitcoin, ETH has gained nearly 200% since April, flashing bullish technical signals not seen since 2020. With chart patterns pointing to potential targets between $10,000 and $12,000, Ethereum's bull market appears far from finished. If you have been watching so far, thank you so much for watching, and do not forget to subscribe to Bitcoin Zella for daily news all for free. That's all for today's video. Until next time.